comes from the pig industry, and it is Dr. Peter Evans, who is CEO of the South African Pork Producers Organisation, and he's going to be chatting to us this afternoon on repositioning of a small producers organisation in a changing market environment.
I'm glad I know what I'm talking about. Is this? Oops.
I think this one down here.
There. Can you hear me? Okay. I just need that presentation if you've got it.
That's good there.
Okay. No, that's good. So thank you very much indeed for the invitation to RPO, to the organisers. Ek kan kyk daar, dankie. Ek voel heeltemal tuis, vir die wat nie weet nie, ek het omtrent 30 kilometers van hier groot geword, in die baie groot dorp Viljoenskroon. So, dis amper by die huis vir my. So, ek waardeer die kans om weer in die Vrystaat te wees. Ek het ook 'n klein varkplaas. The stuff about RPO, I can't read that. Anyway. So, as julle nie omgee, gaan ek my tale meng. So I've been asked to talk about SAPO and where we're positioning ourselves. And I think the most important thing, if you see the title of my slide there, is service. That is really where we are as an organization positioning ourselves. So SAPO, obviously, daar's 'n bietjie van 'n geskiedenis. Where's Angus gone? He disappeared. Before I carry on, I was very concerned. You talked about beef and 9 times a week. You talked about not wanting chicken. Where was the pork in that conversation? Really concerned about it. En Frikkie, as jy ordentlike vleis wil hê, ek sal die vleis borg vir jou volgende kongres. Dit's ja. Eintlik ek is dapper, ja. Maar ek is 'n Vrystater. En 'n cheetah ondersteun, ek sal nooit die cheetahs los nie. Yeah, but really it's actually quite disappointing quite often is that you go to so many functions and there's not pork on buffets or menus. And I kind of understand some of the issues around religious and halal and all of that type of thing that some people who do catering are concerned about, but hopefully if we keep plugging away the way we are plugging away, we're going to change that perception. So I'm going to take you through a bit of history and of how we got to the SAPO of today and where we positioned ourselves. Maar ek kan nie krediet vat vir die hele reis nie, want Johan het geloop, so ek wou vir hom dankie sê, want Johan was baie groot deel van waar SAPO nou is. Johan Kotse, die uitvoerende beampte by Agri SA. So, ons geskiedenis, ons was by die Vleisraad, jy weet, dit was kwotestelsels, dit was, en een van die dinge wat hulle gehad het destyds, was 'n gesondheidsskema, en die gesondheidsskema was basies 'n groep veeartse wat hulle in diens gehad het, ek dink, as ek reg onthou, dit was 6 of 8, en hierdie veeartse het verniet, dit was deel van wat die Vleisraad betaal het, of varkplase besoek. So vir 'n baie lang tyd is gesondheid, vark siektes en gesondheid vir ons 'n baie belangrike ding. SAPO was ook toe die Vleisraad ontbind het en SAPO aan die been gebring is, was dit basies 'n provinsiële organisasie. So ons het net 5 lede gehad. Die ou Transvaal het hulle self Premier Pork Producers genoem, en dan was dit KZN, dit was Oos-Kaap, Wes-Kaap en Vrystaat en Noord-Kaap was saam. So hulle was net 5 lede. So as daar 'n konferensie was of iets om te doen, resolusie wat goedgekeur moes wees, was daar net 5 mense wat kon stemregte gehad. En dan het ons besluit, I'll have to tell my story again about you just now, Angus. Yeah, just kidding. En dan in 2016, vir 'n lang tyd het van die groot boere, die boere wat agri-besigheidsmanne, het hulle besluit dat hulle moet SAPO op 'n nasionale vlak bestuur. En ons moet 'n groter organisasie wees, meer verteenwoordigend vir almal. En so 2016 het ons 'n konstitusie gekry en SAPO het dan deur 'n hele proses gegaan van hoe moet ons lyk? Wat moet ons doen? Wat is die nood vir ons? En hulle het basies 3 fases gedoen. Eerste ding was, ons is nou 'n groot organisasie, nasionale organisasie. Ons moet onsself regstel as 'n koöperatiewe maatskappy. So dit was eers gedoen. En dan deur die verskillende fases gegaan. Ek gaan julle nie met die detail bemoei nie. You know, I think it's important that you understand the journey, and that we took ourselves from a place of meat board being controlled to sort of very provincialized, and through the whole process of setting up SAPO as an organization that was like a company. So al is ons non-profit organisasie, is die hele SAPO bestuur asof dit 'n maatskappy is. Soos ek sê, ek wil julle nie deur al die detail vat nie. So waar is ons nou? Waar is ons nou? Hoe het ons onsself geposisioneer? En dit was die een ding wat ons geweet het, ons boere, our farmers need data. Hulle wil besluite neem met feite. So the World of Pork, dis 'n webblad wat ons het al ons boere is lede daarvan. Hulle data is op dit en dis vrywillig. So jy dis nie vrywillig om jou levy te betaal, maar dis vrywillig om deel te neem aan the World of Pork. So what the World of Pork is a big database. So we've got a lot of data around pig movements, farms, sow numbers. Ons weet waar ons lede is. We know who they are. Ons versamel data oor dinge soos handel, oor pryse in die winkels, hele klomp goed wat ons daar het. En die idee is, wat ons doen is, ons stuur verslae uit aan ons boere. Van die verslae is weekliks, van die verslae is maandeliks, en elke 3 maande, elke kwartaal sal ons opsomming doen van al die data. A lot of farmers, or a lot of people ask about the South African pig industry. If you look at the graph on the left-hand side, in die laaste 8 jaar het ons baie teëspoed gehad as die varkbedryf. 2018 was listeriose, dan het Beck and Clow wat nie varke aangetast het, but it changed the dynamics in the meat market. There was a lot more beef in South Africa, export stopped, so we had prices. Then it was COVID, then it was the riots. 2022 was a fantastic year price-wise, maar as jy op die regterkant kyk, daardie blou lyn heel bo is die voerprys. So dan het ons bloedneus gekry met die voerprys, en mense wat varke voer sal weet, 65% van jou koste is voer. So hierdie is die tipe informasie wat ons met ons boere kan deel. En soos ek vir jou gesê het, daar's baie goed wat ons doen. Ons het, we have retail prices, so we know what the cost of a pork chop is, and we give that to our farmers on a regular basis. We compare it to chicken cuts, to beef cuts. So when we turn around, and we say, we think that this is happening, we have the data to back it up. So we've positioned SAPO in a way that we are an authority, and it can be a trusted authority on what market trends are doing. One of the things that we are going to be doing in the near future is, at the moment, we outsource the collection of pork prices at the abattoirs to the RMAA. Within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be collecting that data ourselves. It'll be collected electronically. Farmers or the abattoirs will be putting that price onto a database, and on the same basis that we've been reporting those prices, which is a lag time, so we don't get into trouble with the Competition Commission, we're going to be able to report those prices. So it will benefit the big farmers, obviously, who sell a lot of pigs to pig farms, but it'll also benefit the smaller farmers who don't have that kind of negotiating power with abattoirs to understand if they're in the right ballpark. We do a lot around trade. Ons weet hoeveel varkvleis word ingevoer, uitgevoer, watter tipe snitte word ingevoer, uitgevoer. Net vir interessantheidshalwe, 50% wat ons invoer is ribbes. Ons produseer nie genoeg ribbes. Die teelprogram tussen Dashhound en 'n vark het nie baie goed uitgewerk, so ons kan nie langer ribbes maak. So ons het 'n probleem, ons gaan moet invoer. En die tweede grootste ding wat ons invoer is casings vir al die worse. Dis die tweede grootste een. So dit basies dit help om ons te balanseer. Ons is nie bang vir invoere as dit net die regte invoere is. Okay, so and you can plot trends. So you can see there the far right top graph. That's the slaughterings of pigs. The year there, 2023, was a bit down. And the reason for that is that with al daardie moeilike tye wat ons gehad vir 5, 6, 7, 8 jare agter mekaar, het begin ophoop en van die boere het uitgeklim. So die slagtings was af daardie jaar. Hulle is weer hierdie jaar, dit lyk vir my, gaan omtrent dieselfde wees as laas jaar. So daardie vermindering aantal slagtings gaan nie gebeur hierdie jaar. All right. I think for us probably, my history at SAPO is I started in SAPO on a contract basis in 2008 as the veterinary liaison officer. And it was brought about, the position was brought about because we'd had a exotic pig disease called PRRS, PRRS, dis 'n virus. South Africa, Australia, New Zealand en die lande in Skandinawië het nie PRRS, die res van die wêreld, al die varke het PRRS. So ons is in 'n baie goeie posisie en dis 'n baie kos baie as jy hom het. Jy moet inent, daar's verliese in produksie. So we don't want PRRS. So we had PRRS in the Cape 2004. We eradicated by 2006. And after that, we really understood that biosecurity was really, really important for us. So we look at SAPO at 3 levels of biosecurity. We look at national biosecurity. So we have a veterinary procedural notice. So when pig meat comes in, pork comes in from other countries, it has to go through a certain process before it can be released for public consumption. So that's part of our international. There was a break-in with a disease called porcine epidemic diarrhea virus. It's a coronavirus in the States in 2016-17, and we immediately stopped all imports of live pigs into South Africa. So die genetika wat in ons land inkom is net gevriesde saad. Gevriesde saad is maklik, jy toets die beere voor hulle getap word, jy vries die saad en jy toets die beere 40 dae na hulle die saad laat het gedoneer, die saad getap is, en dan kan jy met redelik sekerheid sê, daar is nie 'n virus of 'n bakterie of iets in daardie saad en hy is veilig en dan kom die saad in. So we still get genetics in, but it's very, very controlled environment. And then on the national side, we also said to ourselves, we need to look after our farms. So ons het kompartementstelsel. Die kompartementstelsel het terug in 2011 begin. En die verskil tussen 'n kompartement en ek sal nou praat van ons verbruikersversekeringsprogram. Am I still on time? Die verbruikersversekeringsprogram is die kompartemente is daar om siektes te beheer. The Pork 360 program, the consumer assurance, is consumer assurance. Maar al twee programme is baie what's Afrikaans vir similar? Baie dieselfde. So vir boere van 'n administratiewe punt af is dit nie baie ekstra werk om al twee stelsels op hulle plaas dieselfde tyd te hê. So die kompartementstelsel vir ons is fantasties. Ek dink die teleurstelling vir ons en van ons boere is, dit beteken nie dat jy maklik kan uitvoer. As 'n ander land, so elke uitvoer wat jy doen van land tot land is tussen die twee partye onderhandel. So we have an issue at the moment with Namibia. Namibia stopped our imports 2 years ago, and despite us having compartments and being able to give all of those health certifications that those animals are free of FMD and ASF, we're still having trouble get back. So one thing that one must understand is you can have the best health systems and compartments. If another country finds a way that they don't want to trade with you, it becomes difficult, and you have to argue through it. The compartment system, the important thing of the compartment system is that it's managed by the government. Okay? Regerings praat met regerings. So ek kan nie, ons help hulle met baie van die besoeke, ons help hulle met die privaat veeartse gaan kry die bloedmonsters wat nodig is op 'n gereelde basis. Maar uit die eindelijk van die saak moet die staatsveearts in daardie distrik, hy moet sy oog op daardie kompartement hou. Dis hoe dit werk. So it's a really good example of a public-private partnership. En dit is een van die dinge wat SAPO hulle self positioneer het, ons moet saamwerk met die regering. So ek het nou vir meneer Saragi gesê, ek dink ons een van min bedrywe wat ooit die regering hof toe wou sleep, en ek dink dit is belangrik om daardie verhoudings op te bou. Biosekuriteit, soos ek vir julle gesê, is belangrik vir ons regdeur die verskillende groottes van plase, of dit 'n boer met baie plase, baie eenhede op baie plase, of dit 'n klein boer is in 'n gemeenskap, in 'n klein dorpie, is dit belangrik vir ons dat ons biosekuriteit vir hulle kan toets, want hulle wil na 'n abattoir toe gaan. So 'n abattoir is ook 'n plek waar ons hard moet opwerk, because they want to manage their risks. An abattoir that buys pigs from all sorts of places, and they're not certain of the disease status of those animals that come in, risk the chance that a diseased animal comes in the abattoir and the abattoir is closed down and quarantined for a while. So for them, it's very important. So we have this, a lot of what we do at SAPO is on a cell phone. So we've developed many apps that work with the world of pork. So we do biosecurity audits, and with those biosecurity audits, we can give a biosecurity score to a farm. As I said, it doesn't matter what size they are, and they can take that biosecurity score, biosecurity report, and go to whoever they want to supply and say, I've had a biosecurity support. Passive surveillance, very similar. So al ons privaat veeartse, die varkveearts konsultante, as hulle op enige een van die plase is wat hulle besoek het, kan hulle, en dis omtrent 4 of 5 vrae wat hulle moet antwoord, kan hulle vir ons daardie besoek log, en ons weet, so en so veearts, X, Y of Z, was op daardie plaas op daardie dag, en hy het gerapporteer dat daar geen siektes is, unmeldbare siektes, no notifiable diseases. So it's part of the whole process that you need to build up, that when you go to a country, agriculture, we've said to ourselves over and over again, agriculture's got to a place where you have to be totally transparent. You can't say I'm doing something without being able to prove it. And passive surveillance is part of that. Okay, die een wat ons hardop nou werk, is ook naspoorbaarheid, so animal movement. So for us at SAPO, it's important to be able to say we're traceable. So our farmers at the moment can log, it's not quite on the app yet, but it's going to get there. On a desktop, they can log every single movement. So as hulle 'n vrag van 200 varke stuur na 'n abattoir in Vereniging of Pretoria, waar ook al, hulle kan daardie beweging van diere kan hulle aanmeld. En dan kan 'n mens dit gebruik om te sê, ons weet dat daardie vragvarke wat gelaai is by plek A, by abattoir C afgelaai was, en jy weet dat dit gebeur op dieselfde dag, en ons het 'n tyd wanneer hy van die plaas weg is en wanneer hy by die abattoir aangekom. So daardie tipe vrae wat ons kry, kan ons antwoord, want ons het die data, ons het die data daar agter. Okay. So ons het 'n statutêre heffing. So ons moet 20% van ons inkomste op ontwikkeling betaal of gebruik. So at the moment, the way SAPO is doing business development is we've got 8 business development managers, 1 in each province. The Northern Cape, we don't really have too many pigs there, it's a bit hot. So we have 8 development managers, and they go and visit farms they'll leave the office on a Monday morning and they go and visit farms for 3 or 4 days, and they're back on a Friday. So we have a huge amount of influence. So one of the strategies of SAPO about 6, 7, 8 years ago was this extension service type operation. Because instead of funding 1 or 2 projects, and quite a few of our projects blew up in our face, 1 or 2 projects, we could have influence and share knowledge and, uplift many more pig farmers by having these business development managers. We're going to have to re-strategize that a little bit, because I think with the new AAMP, there's a need for us to help develop farms, which we won't fund, but we will facilitate that. So that's part of a change in strategy. The other thing about the development managers, again, on the app, as soon as the BDM has been on a farm, he logs a visit, and the BDM, the head of business development at SAPO, she pulls reports. She knows where each one of her people were, which farms they were on, when they were on. They add data in there, how many sows were on the farm, how many were farrowed, what the mortality rates are. So we are really data-driven as SAPO. That's where we position ourselves, to be a data source across all of these platforms. Okay, so Pork 360. One of SAPO's drivers is we believe very firmly in self-regulation. We positioned ourselves to self-regulate. So Pork 360, this program started with a few farmers in the Premier Pork Producer scenario in the early 2000s. It was called Triple P QAT. That started in the 2000s, and it was provincial. In the early 2010s, a lot of the other farmers nationally started saying they can see value in it. And then SAPO actually bought the program from Triple P, and we renamed it Pork 360, which is another way, I guess, of full circle, farm to fork, whatever you want to call it. So that's what Pork 360 is about. And what is our primary goals in there? The first primary goal is the things that really upset the consumer. So dit is welsyn, dit is residue, of dit antibiotica is, of gifstowwe, of wat ook, dis residue. It's about environmental stewardship, okay? And then it's about social governance. It's about waste. So it really is, what does the consumer want out of pork, and what worries them? So one of the most satisfying things about this Pork 360 program, and you mustn't get me wrong, boere beklei die hele tyd. Hulle wil dit nie hê nie. Why are you coming to tell me how to farm? And then they see the positive spin-offs, and hopefully sometimes they're happy. Quivers, I loved your talk. I was surprised I didn't shoot you with those very harsh messages. Anyway, coming back, so ESG is the big word. Everybody's using ESG. So what SAPO did is about 2 years ago, we knew ESG was coming. So we went to PricewaterhouseCoopers, went to the Sustainability Institute at Stellenbosch, and we said to them, guys, tell us what ESG means worldwide, globally. And they came back with what the beef industry does in the USA and wherever they are. And after they'd been through their 2, 3, 4 months of research, we sent them our Pork 360 standards. And when they put that down, they put down what they said, you know what, you are addressing a huge number of the sustainable development goals already. So all we need, not all we need, because it's a continual moving field, you have to keep going, is what we're able to do now, instead of just saying, is there a water conservation program on the farm? Do they check there are no leaks and wastage? We're now putting metrics to that. Now we're going to measure how much fresh water goes into a pig farm. And then we'll be able to put out a report that would say, on a 500 sow unit, they use X amount of water. The denominator doesn't matter. It can be how many kilograms of pork were sold off that unit, and this was so many liters. And it's data-driven, and there's no bullshit behind it. Antibiotics, we're going to be measuring much, instead of having a program that says you're reconciling, you're not using too much antibiotics, we're actually going to put a quantity to it. So we're developing into that ESG field. So the where we came from was really consumer assurance, food safety, a bit of animal health, and now we're positioning Pork 360 as all of that, plus being able to answer some ESG questions. I think probably the most exciting thing we're doing, and I'm nearly there, Mr. Chairman, is marketing. So we spend about 30% of what we spend on of our revenue on marketing. I'm going to use it because I only learned the word the other day. So daar's baie mythe en feite wat ons uitsit. I understood that's myths for you English guys. Yeah, so, and I mean, I still get it every day. I mean, the other day I said to somebody, I eat my pork medium rare to medium, and they looked at me and said, no, you're going to get sick. I said, do I look sick? So, we got to break that. So, and again, the important thing is you got to have an authoritative voice behind what you say. So we partnered with the University of Stellenbosch. The University of Stellenbosch helps us with underwriting, underscoring, and telling us what we can or cannot say about pork based on their facts. So, lean pork, gives you energy. It's good for your immune system. So, and apparently it'll also help people who are about to have strokes. Sorry, Angus. And we run campaigns on a regular basis. So we try not to flood the market every month and bore them. So, we'd have a campaign around September, which is meant to be Braai Month. We'd have Christmas in July. So there was a whole campaign at SAPA around Christmas in July. So we try and find reasons to fit in with the ebb and flow of what people want to do and how they want to entertain. So we spend a lot of time on marketing. It's very, very exciting for us. And you can see these are some of those facts. You can use it in a weight loss diet. You can what it doesn't do. It doesn't cause heart disease. There are myths out there that it gives you flu, and we want to break all of those. So, in a nutshell, I think the most important. We had a conference AGM during the 2020. Where we had a lot of international speakers as part of it. It was a virtual a congress, AGM, obviously in 2020. So it was quite nice because we could engage with people in the British pig industry, we engaged with people in the Australian pig industry. And the big message that comes home is everybody wants transparency, okay? Everybody wants you to talk about facts. One of the comments that was made a few times, I don't know if you guys know Frans van Wyk from Stellenbosch, who's ESG specialist. There's this whole concept out there of greenwashing. A lot of people are filling in ESG scorecards, but it's not backed up by data. So, and they call that greenwashing because it's kind of, we're ticking the box, but we're not really ticking the box. And that's really what drives us at SAPO is to be transparent. Welfare for us is a huge issue. Sows in crates, soe en kratte se pyn, veral dragtige soe. Hulle nie groot probleem as hulle in die kraamsaal is of miskien in die KI-stasie is, hulle kan nou in 'n krat wees. So ons het al die uitdagings om in die tyd te lewe waarin in ons lewe. So we really, really try and say to ourselves, we try and make sure, one of the talks we had at our AGM, which happened in the middle of September, was by a guy named Vickers, who is in the consumer area. Die wêreld verander. Die mense wat ons varkvleis verkoop is 'n ander generasie. So he was talking about the Gen Z guys and what they like. And if our marketing campaign, if the way we have pigs raised on farms doesn't satisfy the people who want to eat it, well, what are we doing here? So that's really part of part of what SAPA is about, is to make sure that we position ourselves to be relevant to the consumers, to the people who are going to eat our products. And I hope we do that. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And if there are any questions.
Any questions?
I did a good job. Oh, bugger, I didn't do a good job.
In the middle.
Good afternoon, Greg Talbot from Taltech. I read an article about 3 months ago from America where they made a comment that over the last 30 years they've sort of gone in the wrong direction when it comes to fat. That they've been breeding pigs to be lean, no fat within the muscle. Whereas the beef industry sort of stayed with the fats, and that's kept the taste. Have you got any comment about that?
Yeah, certainly, I think the law of unintended consequences always applies to any breeding program. So one of you're 100% right, that a lot of our modern genetics are leaner. There is an economic reason for that it costs you energy-wise about 4 times as much to put fat on as protein. But also, you know, it's how things shift in life. So everyone is complaining pigs are too fat, and then you push them too lean, and obviously sometimes you go too far. One of the things that has changed within the last 12 months for the pig industry is the carcass masses. So we used to have a cutoff at 100 kilos warm. Then they could no longer be classified under the porker system. But now that's moved up to 110. So some of the farms are now getting well over sort of 90 kilos. You know, and with that, with age, fat develops as animals get older. So I think, you know, we'll obviously continue to watch the space. But I think that fat's going to come naturally because the animals are getting older. Yeah. So that's an interesting question. Marbling intramuscular fat, you know, it's a thing in pigs. There's some genetic breeds rather than genetics, but breeds like, for instance, a Duroc, which are perceived to have slightly more marbling, but that's an important thing. And I guess one of the developments that need to really take place, we have questions around quality quite often. You know, and I'll get farmers who'll phone me and say, you know, they were in, let's not mention retailers' names, but in a certain shop, and they won't buy those pork chops. And a lot of it that's quality, and that becomes, it's a difficult thing to control. I mean, our Pork 360 started off as QAT, quality assurance and traceability. We dropped the quality out of that for the simple reason is, as a pork producer organization, the person who's got to looking after the quality is the person who's selling it to the consumer. I can't manage 10, 15,000 butcher stores. So that's a problem. And the feedback from the consumer as to whether it's juicy or not, I think there's enough intramuscular fat. And I mean, I made a kind of a joke about it. But really, everybody tends to, and I was included in that until about a year ago, overcooks their pork. And that's why it starts becoming dry. You know, so if it really, I mean, we make a huge effort around those myths, around, you know, pigs that have grown up on commercial farms, well-managed, clean, hygienic farms. You're not going to get Taenia solium. You're not going to get cysticercosis. You're not going to get worms. So then you don't have to cook it that much, and then it's not going to be dry. And then the eating quality is better. So, you know, eating quality is a difficult thing.
Meneer Evans, baie dankie. Ek is Sakkie van Sully van Bommerandstad. Net graag 2 vrae aan u rondom die organisasie, die eerste plek, die befondsing van die varkprodusente organisasie. Is dit uitsluitlik die statutêre heffing of het u 'n vrywillige ledestelsel, geldstelsel? Hoe bepaal julle wie's lid? Is dit maar 'n ou wat 'n vark slag? Dis die een, so dit is die befondsing van die organisasie. Die tweede vraag, na al die statutêre heffings nou spandeer is, hierdie programme wat julle het julle vanaf 2016 markandeel in die verbruiker se beursie gewen, teenoor byvoorbeeld 'n produk soos hoender? Werk dit? Hoe meet julle suksesse met al daai met al die fondse wat wel spandeer is?
Sakkie, baie dankie vir die vraag. Die eerste een is bietjie makliker as die tweede een. So die tyd toe SAFPU 'n provinsiale organisasie was voor 2016, was daar 'n kombinasie van vrywillige heffings en statutêre heffings. En ons is nou net statutêre heffings van 2016 af. En die rede is, ek dink, as daar, en die boere, ons varkboere sukkel op die oomblik. So, as hulle vrywillige heffings sou betaal het, sou baie van hulle dit nie betaal het nou. So, dis nou, almal word met dieselfde kam deurgesneeu. Anyway. Jy moet my verskoon, ek is 'n Vrystaat, my Afrikaans bietjie sleg nou dan. So dis net statutêre heffings op die oomblik. Op die verbruik van varkvleis. So 10 jaar terug was ons omtrent op 3.2 kg per persoon. Tydelik laas jaar omtrent 5.6. So ons groei ons markandeel. So en daardie 5.6 kg per persoon sluit almal in. En ons weet ons het omtrent enige persoon kan maar sê dis verkeerd of reg, maar daar's of 62 miljoen of 66 miljoen mense, maar as jy die omtrent 11% van mense wat varkvleis nie eet omdat hulle ZCC is of moslim is, as jy hulle uitsluit, ons dink dis omtrent 11-12% van die populasie, dan obviously is ons baie hoër as dit. So dis moeilik. Die ander gedeelte van jou vraag is, hoe bepaal 'n mens of jou bemarking, jou rand, hoeveel rand bring na die 1 rand wat jy bestee het om bemarking? En dit is ontsettend moeilik. Ek vra dit gereeld vir baie van my mense in ons bemarkingsspan. Jy weet, een van die dinge wat ons baie graag wil doen, ons gebruik nou, as ons bemarking doen, sit ons hierdie QR codes op van die pakkies. Byvoorbeeld by Shoprite Checkers. Maar hulle wil nie baie graag daardie inligting vir jou gee, is hoeveel mense, jy weet, varkchop gekoop het, of jy weet, hulle wil nie daardie inligting van ons gee. So dit is moeilik. Maar een van die stories wat ek altyd onthou, is dat Coca-Cola het net agtergekom hoeveel hulle bemarking gewerk het, toe hulle bemarkingsbegroting verminder het. En toe kom hulle agter hoe belangrik was dit. So, en ons gaan nie ons bemarking stop nie.
Is that it? More questions? Peter, you got away very lightly. Thank you very much. Don't go away.